Hello, everyone. This is Tony Sakalis alongside Andrew Bone, and we're here to discuss our latest segment of the 21 for 21 series. If you've been following along on BamaInsider.com, the 21 for 21 series is basically just 21 topics and questions for the 2021 season. Before we get started, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Look, you guys have really helped us build up this channel, but we're always trying to get bigger and better. Like Alabama, we never stop. So help us out and help us grow this channel. Andrew, I brought you on to discuss the latest topic because it's a recruiting topic. Basically what we're asking this time is, what are Alabama's biggest needs for this upcoming class, for this 2022 class, this cycle that we're in, and we'll start with it. I mean, we saw Alabama hit pretty much all of its needs last year, this last cycle. But what do you kind of see as, I guess, if you had to say the biggest need for this upcoming class, what would you say?
Well, you always have to revert back to the previous class and even the class before that to kind of look at the overall numbers, who's going to be graduating, who's potentially going to leave early into the NFL draft. And even though they may have signed X number of players at this position in the previous class, maybe they didn't sign a big group the previous year, or maybe they had a transfer too. So you got to kind of look ahead. You got to look forward. What's the team going to look like 2 or 3 years down the line? And I think in this year's recruiting class, you're really looking at where are you going to be at the defensive front position? Where are you going to be in the defensive back position? And Alabama signed a tremendous group at those positions last year, but still trying to add more talent in this year's class. And I think they've already hit some needs on the offense side of the ball. I know we'll talk a little bit more about that, but getting a top-rated quarterback in Ty Simpson, getting one tight end early on in Elijah Brown. Still going after one more. I think they still want to get one more tight end. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But on the defensive side of the ball, you never have enough defensive linemen. So defensive line, certainly a top priority position for Alabama. And we all talked about the defensive back class in 2021. Just an unbelievable group of talent. But once again, they're going after some of the best defensive backs in the country, and they certainly have a chance to sign another great group in 2022.
Now, you mentioned that defensive line. Look, we saw Alabama bring in a Damon Payne in this year's class, a Tim Smith in the class before. Who are some of those big key names to know on the defensive line when you're looking at this next group of if they are going to hit that position pretty hard? What are some of the names Alabama fans should be kind of keeping an eye on?
That's right. Well, starting off, you have 2 defensive line commitments already on board. One's a defensive end, one's a defensive tackle. So you have defensive end Walter Bobb out of Louisiana. Very talented player, 6'4", about 250 pounds right now. And then you also have Jaheim Otis, who's a little bit bigger. He's about 6'6", well over 300 pounds, and just a massive space eater. But he's also really athletic. I mean, this is a guy that also runs track. So he's got a chance to get out in open space. He can move. He's not somebody that's just a big blob that's going to be out there to eat up space. He can actually get into the backfield, chase down ball carriers, and make big plays. So I think Alabama has to be very excited about their early 2 commitments on the defensive front. Now, from a national perspective, number 1 defensive tackle in the country, Walter Nolan out of Tennessee, visited for the 8A game, is going to return in late June the 25th through the 27th for his official visit. I think Alabama has a great chance to land his commitment. And I know Ty Simpson certainly trying to recruit him, get another fellow Tennessean on board for the Crimson Tide. So I don't think he's going to make a decision anytime soon, even though he's going to take a lot of visits this summer. It looks like he's going to stretch it out into the fall. He knows he can take his time. He can wait as long as he wants to make his college decision, but has a great relationship with Pete Golding, Freddie Roach, Nick Saban, all the heavy hitters coming after him, making sure he feels like a top priority. Now, in-state-wise, there's a few guys that Alabama is heavily recruiting, one being Justice Finkley from Hewitt-Trussville. He was also in Tuscaloosa for the 8A game. He's going to be in town for a I don't know if he's going to attend a camp or if he's just going to come in town, just hang out and be on campus, hang out with the coaching staff, but he's at least going to visit in June. Another defensive lineman is Curtis Perry. Now, Curtis came out maybe about a month ago. I was about to say a few weeks ago, but maybe about a month ago, said that Alabama wasn't one of the schools that was recruiting him the hardest at this time. So it pretty much indicates that I think Alabama likes him a lot. They've recruited him for a while, but they also may want to see him at camp. I think there's a lot of guys that they need to see in camp, a lot of guys they haven't seen in a couple of years, whether that's in-state or out-of-state. And you can be a 5-star, you can be the number one player in the country. You still got to get seen. You still got to get an accurate height and weight, because most of these kids haven't even had a chance to sit down with Nick Saban, sit down in his office, get a chance to know him, haven't had a chance to sit down with their position coaches. As we know, there are a lot of new assistant coaches. A lot of these guys new on staff haven't met any of these prospects yet, so they want to get a chance to know them. And I'm not saying these kids have to camp. There are some that have to camp, but they also want to get these kids on campus so they get to know them a little bit more, so they get a chance to develop that relationship, not just through Zoom or through text messages. They want to get to know them up close and personal. So let that happen, let it transpire, and kind of see where things go. But those are two in-state defensive linemen that Alabama's recruiting that they've been interested in for a while now. Thinking more about big picture, national type names. I think you got to look at Caden Curry out of Indiana, definitely a top defensive end that Alabama's been going after for a while. Danny Dennis Sutton, Rivals 100 defensive end from Maryland, going to visit Alabama. I believe that's June the 18th through the 20th weekend, so that's going to be a big visit for him. Then you got a couple guys from the state of Texas that Alabama is really recruiting. Jeray Bledsoe out of Bremen High School in Texas. Small school star, but certainly somebody that Alabama really likes a lot. He's about 6'4", 285 pounds right now. And you also have Omar Agbor, who's a defensive end that they really like a lot. I think they're going to have a chance with him because he's got a teammate, Kendrick Blackshire, who's already signed with Alabama in last year's class. One of the most impressive defensive players that we've seen from a physical standpoint, and Omar is certainly an impressive. Omar is certainly an impressive player as well. So we're certainly going to be paying close attention to his recruitment moving forward.
Yeah, we've seen Alabama kind of like double up in Texas already, with Jace McClellan and JoJo Earl. So I'll be interested in if they do that, again, this year, and kind of like bring in some former teammates and reunite them at the Alabama level. But, one thing you had mentioned the defensive backs earlier too. And when I was looking at, last year's class, you had a lot of across the whole kind of back end of the defense. You had a lot of guys that were really versatile. Guys like Kane Williams, who could maybe move down to linebacker, or guys like Terrion Arnold, who could play at safety or on the perimeter at cornerback. Is that a trend that you kind of see Alabama continuing this year with that kind of emphasis maybe on versatile guys?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there's a lot of versatile type guys that are out there that Alabama is certainly involved with in this year's class. I mean, you have a few guys who are more pure corners, like Denver Harris, 5-star DB out of Texas, and Earl Little Jr. Out of American Heritage down in Plantation, Florida. But a guy like Terrence Brooks, also out of Texas, he could play multiple positions in the defensive backfield. Devin Moore, another defensive back out of Florida, out of Naples area, and certainly another kid that I think Alabama is strongly interested in. I think that Antonio Kite, there's a lot of people that are very interested in him in terms of what his ability is at the next level. Can he be a corner? Is he a safety? What exact position is he going to play? But another big question mark for him is he going to primarily focus on football or basketball? So, that's another big question mark for him. But, there's a lot of other guys that are out there that Alabama's certainly interested in. They're going to get on campus, evaluate, and I think just kind of go from there. But I see Alabama at least trying to sign 4 defensive backs in this class.
Now, Alabama hasn't had trouble recruiting defensive backs. Nick Saban usually brings in a really big, class of elite players at that position. But one position that's kind of escaped Alabama in recent years is the tight end position. They've been able to bring in some quality talent, but they've also had some key misses on key targets. Where do they stand at that position? It seems like that's a spot you'd really kind of want to bulk up, especially with the possibility of losing Jaleel Billingsley to the draft.
Yeah, The thing with tight ends these days is, most of these guys, they all want to be wide receivers. They all want to be, the next O.J. Howard type player or Irv Smith, and most of the bigger tight ends that we see out there now end up growing into being offensive linemen or defensive linemen. So all the tight ends now, they all want to be receivers. And Elijah Brown was an early commitment out of Ohio for Alabama, and they're still going after some big names. I think they want to sign 2 tight ends if they can get the right 2. And there's going to be some guys that are going to come onto campus this summer that they're going to evaluate that are probably going to get offered. But as of right now, 2 guys that they're really going after, Jaleel Skinner out of Greer High School in South Carolina. He's going to make a visit to Tuscaloosa in June, and also Oscar Delp out of Georgia, number 1 tight end in the country. Now, I do think with Delp, Alabama probably on the outside looking in. He mentioned at the Rivals camp back in April that Alabama was probably number 5 on his list, but I think they've steadily moved up a little bit. I wouldn't say they're in his top 3 at this point. I think him going on to getting into Tuscaloosa for an official visit this summer, they're going to have an opportunity to make a move for him. But I think Delp and Skinner are certainly the 2 guys that they're going after, and they'll kind of go from there if they don't get either one of those guys on board.
All right, moving on to I think the position that excites everyone, at least excites me the most, is the quarterback position. Alabama's already kind of got that figured out with Ty Simpson, that he's the guy. But just talk a little bit about him, and what do you think he brings to this class?
Well, he's a big-time player. I mean, this is a guy that's extremely competitive, extremely athletic. You watch his highlight videos, whether it's basketball, football, baseball. I mean, he's constantly doing something. He's had a great spring so far in terms of going out to the Elite 11 regional, earning an Elite 11 invite, going to the Rivals regional, earning a 5-star challenge invite. Just got a very strong arm, very accurate. But what you don't see is his ability to make plays with his legs. If a play breaks down, he can escape the pocket. He can throw on the run, and those are some things that I think excite Alabama fans. Certainly excite the Alabama coaching staff. And after signing 1 quarterback in last year's class and Jalen Milroe the previous year, getting Bryce Young. This is another big-time get for Alabama at the quarterback position. And I think with, obviously, back-to-back quarterbacks being drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, it's certainly a strong selling point for players, and not just for big-time quarterbacks that want to come in and start right away. You talk to Ty Simpson, and this is a guy that really looks up to Mac Jones and watched what Mac Jones was able to do, and he's already said it doesn't matter if I come in and start right away or if I have to wait until my 5th year to start. I know regardless that I can get drafted early on in the NFL draft when I come out if I stick to the game plan and learn from the coaches and learn from the players that are above him.
Now, you mentioned that's Ty Simpson's motto, and that's kind of like what he's going by. In today's age, though, you see quarterbacks, they move on, and it seems like Alabama's got a guy in Bryce Young that's probably, I mean, he's going to be there next year. He's going to probably be the guy the year after, and he might go to the NFL after that, but he might even come back another year. So with him being the quarterback of the future or the near future for Alabama, do they guard against maybe the possible departure? Is there a chance they bring in somebody alongside Ty Simpson to maybe bring in more depth at that position?
Yeah, I don't think they will, at least in this class. I think they'll probably focus on next year's recruiting class, 2023. You'll probably try to sign a couple guys in next year's recruiting class, probably not anymore this year. I think numbers are going to be pretty tight. There's been some talk about maybe a quarterback transfer. That's not happening. I think the talk of a quarterback transfer happening is just kind of all baloney right now. I think there's just no truth to that at all. And I think in terms of another 2022 guy getting an offer and becoming a part of this class, I just don't see it happening.
How much does it help to have a guy so early, like a Ty Simpson? Last year Alabama didn't get Jalen Milroe into the fold until a little bit later. Just what's the advantage, of having that quarterback to kind of lead the class? Obviously, you can do it without him, but I'm sure it's a big help in terms of just helping to recruit the class.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just, the leadership, him wanting to go after top recruits. Him, the day that he commits to Alabama, asking the coaching staff, hey, who can I call? Who can I try to get to Tuscaloosa with me? And I think with him having the success that he's had, it certainly helps out a lot as well, because other recruits want to play with star players, and he's certainly a star guy. And he's going to be in Tuscaloosa every single weekend this summer, helping recruit, and he's going to do what it takes to try to help Alabama as much as he can. So, really big to get your leader of your recruiting class on board early on, so he can go ahead and develop those relationships. He may not meet these guys until the summer, but those relationships are already being formed. He's already been talking to guys for the last few months, and really looking forward to him getting back down to Tuscaloosa and spending a lot of time with top targets.
Now, we've mentioned some of the key needs or some of the key positions, but what's another position group maybe that is kind of underrated in this class that Alabama could bring in that could be a storyline of this class for Alabama?
Well, yeah, I think you got to look at the offensive line. There's certainly some big name offensive linemen that are out there that are all going to be visiting Alabama throughout the summer. Whether that's 5-star Zach Rice and Julian Armella, or if it's a guy like Jake Taylor from Las Vegas, or Elijah Pritchett from Columbus, Georgia. There's a lot of offensive linemen that are out there that have high interest in Alabama that are all going to be visiting Tuscaloosa at some point. You have the new offensive line coach in Doug Marrone, who's developing the relationships with these guys. So, what's he going to be able to do, in his first year down in Tuscaloosa? Can he pull in, some more big name offensive linemen, elite offensive linemen, after Alabama signed a very, very prestigious offensive line group in 2021? I think they're going to have a good chance to do that.
Well, there you go, Andrew. I mean, everyone, I think we're in line. I think you would agree, Andrew. We're in a line for another big time class at Alabama. So keep it here for Andrew Bone has constant recruiting coverage on BamaInsider.com. I'm Tony Sakalis. This will be part of our 21 for 21 series, so definitely make sure to keep track of that. And like I said earlier, please like and subscribe to help us grow the channel. Thanks for watching, guys.